Fictions, the Cozy Book Club podcast where we talk about the books we're reading and the thoughts we have on them. My name's Morgan.
My name's Desiree, and this week we're talking about a book that genuinely caught me off guard, The Correspondent by Virginia Evans, and it's her debut novel. This book is an epistolary novel, which means it's written entirely through letters, which is interesting. I've never read an epistolary novel before. Have you?
No, I haven't. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, to be honest, when you told me about it.
What, did you end up liking it?
Yeah, I did. I think the format was really done well. I was skeptical going in.
Yeah, I feel like I really enjoyed it. I feel like right off the bat, it felt like very intimate.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that part of it. But the book is about the main character, Sybil Van Antwerp. She's an older woman, retired lawyer, divorced. And every morning she sits down with her imported stationery and she writes letters to all the people in her life, authors of books that she's read, a teenager who she's helping out, and then there's one mysterious recipient whose letters are never sent, and that's always notated. But the entire book just unfolds through the correspondence. No scenes, no dialogue, just literally the letters. So, overall, like I said, it caught me by surprise in such a good way. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, so did I. I thought it was an excellent book. A lot of things I think going into it, I was skeptical about like the older protagonist, about like the letter format, but I enjoyed every bit of it. I enjoyed Sybil as the protagonist. Did you like her?
I did.
I had a lot of complicated feelings about her, but overall positive.
Yeah. I feel like I really liked her. I guess what would be the overall word I would use to describe Sybil? Strong-willed, blunt nature.
When I was thinking about her, I was like, I don't think I would like her to be like my family member, but I would like her to be like my neighbor or something. Like, depending on how my relationship would be with her is how I frame whether or not I like her.
Yeah.
But overall, from a reader's perspective, I do think she was a fun protagonist to read.
Definitely. I agree.
With the book being letter-based, basically the entire premise of everything is just all these different relationships she has. And I feel like this is true of everyone, but so many of her relationships feel so complicated. And just like with her daughter, especially, that was one that caught my eye. I feel like a lot of the relationships in my life, there's a lot of estrangement. And she has a daughter she's not fully estranged from, but they're not close either. It's not a great relationship. And that was like another thing where I was reading. I was like, wouldn't like Sybil as a mom. Mm-hmm. But I did feel bad for her, even though I think a lot of it was by her own doing.
Yeah, I think she definitely fell short in the mom role.
As we're reading, it's like unfolded. The big trauma of her life was losing her 9-year-old son, and she carries a lot of blame. It was kind of a freak accident that, like, one of those freak accidents that if things played out differently, technically she could have prevented it, but she also had no way of knowing, really. So she carries a lot of blame, and that's basically why she puts like this big distance between herself and the other kids. But it's hard to think about that from the kids' perspective, growing up with a mom who did put that wedge between them. So
yeah,
that's like one part of her I found very complicated to. You understand why she's acted the way she did, but it's still very hard to feel warmly, I guess. And I feel like a lot of like the main relationships in my life are people who have issues with their own mothers, and like, so I'm thinking about that, and it just makes her hard to love.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Speaking of kind of the family aspect and ties there, a part of the storyline, a main part of it is her, the fact that she got a DNA test, and it's a whole thing, but she didn't really ask the DNA test, but it ended up getting done, and then she ended up getting the results even though she didn't want them and whatnot. But what did you think of that whole?
She was kind of offended when she received it as a gift from her kids. And I kind of understand their perspective. I get if she's always expressed she didn't want to know, but it's also their family as well.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's one degree removed, but I would want to know, like, if either of my parents were adopted, I would be really urging them to take that DNA test. Somebody in my life actually was in a very similar situation where her mom was adopted and her mom never wanted to know. And somehow, I don't quite know how, but they found her family after her mom died.
Interesting. So, crazy.
Yeah, someone I know finally was able to like get all of those answers, because they were always curious, the woman's kids, on like who's our family, because it's just an interesting thing to know about, especially if they grew up in a very close family. It's like we want to know if, like, who else there could be out there, but they had to wait all those years because they didn't want to overstep. And I think that's like the respectful thing to do.
I also feel like a lot of times too, people, another route besides just wanting to know familial ties is like health records.
Definitely.
And if somebody comes down with, a sickness or something or whatnot, they want to know their family history. And so I feel like that spurs those.
Yeah, no, family history, that's so important. Even like my mom wasn't adopted, we're just not close to her family. And at the doctor, they're asking me like all these things. I'm like, maybe, I don't know really, because we just don't talk to her family. So it'd be a complete, like, more complicated degree to not even know who they were at all.
For sure. One kind of fun part of the book, I guess I enjoyed it, and I'm sure you did too, but part of this whole DNA storyline is her communications with one of the employees at the DNA company. I found that really enjoyable, and I loved how it ended. What are your thoughts?
No, I loved the little Bassam storyline. I thought it was very endearing. She just kind of claimed him as her own, like, personal, because when she was sending the emails to the company, it was just like to the help desk in general. And if you've ever worked at like a company like that, you've got 20 people working the help desk, but she would direct it like to Bassam, so it'd have to get forwarded to him. And she kind of build it up like a, I don't know if friendship's the right word.
Rapport.
She was almost, yeah. She was trying to like mentor him a little bit. Like, send me your resume. Like, that's because he was a very qualified person, but he was just stuck in this role because he was new to the United States. And she really wanted to help him out, and it went wrong, but then it wrapped up nicely. So I thought it was a very endearing little storyline.
Yeah, and I felt like it was interesting because I do feel like a lot of times when there's someone who maybe doesn't isn't a great mother, or in other parts of their life, they can be so kind to strangers. And I don't know what the studies say about that, but I do really feel like that is something that happens.
Yeah, I was actually just talking to my friend about that. She's got a very complicated mother, and was saying how her mom would always adopt like the troubled younger guys at work and like try to like mentor them and like get them like on the right path and help them find success, where she would like never do that for her own child. And, like, that's
So
just, like,
interesting.
so weird. And that's like a pattern. You're right. I see that so often. Where I feel like they just like misdirect the maternal energy.
Yeah. That's too bad.
That is too bad.
But I really like it. It showed that she's totally capable of sticking her neck out for people, and which I think she did many times. And I don't want her to be completely defined. That's another thing. She has so many relationships. It was so interesting because they all touched on different parts of her personality, and I really like that because so many times, especially nowadays, people are defined by like one headline or one relationship that they have. In a book like this, communication between Sybil and all these people in her life shows all the different sides of her.
You're getting so many different versions of her, which I think a lot of times when we're looking at our relationships in our life, you're only seeing the version that you yourself experience, which is interesting. Yeah, so even if she's a complicated mother to have, she's a great like help desk person to be writing into.
Maybe I feel like it turned out good, but like also so annoying because like the other help desk workers are like trying to close the ticket and she's like, no, boss, I'm only.
In a roundabout way, she ends up getting him fired with her persistence, which was like, that's made me so sad. And then he's saying like he's like doing delivery driving now. Was it an engineering degree he had?
I think so.
Yeah, he was an engineer, but he just couldn't get his foot in the door moving to the United States.
But he ended up getting a job.
Yes, he sent her his resume finally, because that's why he ended up getting fired, is because she was really being persistent about, send me your resume, we're going to get you a new job, we're going to get you a better job. And then he got flagged, I don't know, by HR. But eventually she got his resume to who needed to see it and helped him out.
Which is great.
Gosh, because after she got him fired, it'd be so sad if there's no resolution there.
Yeah. Another part of her that we got to see was her when she was dating. Or she has suitors, I would say, actually. Maybe not even
male
dating. Yeah, she has a couple male suitors. And I really enjoyed those situations. She just didn't care. I loved it.
She was not male-centered at all,
no.
which we love to see. I loved Theodore. I thought he was like the sweetest, cutest,
so sweet. And I did feel sorry that she didn't give him the attention I think that he wanted, but
And ran over his cat and called it
oh,
her biggest embarrassment. Like,
I
there was a lot that made her hard for me to love.
I forgot about that. I blocked it. I have a problem where I do recognize that I do this, but I forget the things I didn't like about something,
Yeah.
and then I focus on just the good.
You're able to romanticize. That's
I
wonderful.
I do. I
Yeah.
romanticize. Completely forgot about her running over the cat, and I hated that scene.
Yeah, and she just like didn't have compassion for the situation.
No.
She's like, "This is my greatest embarrassment, but I better go into his house and get his towels so we don't get cat blood on my towels."
Mm,
Like that was so sad to me, and just like the lack of compassion, like trying.
yeah. It also was super interesting to me as well because she's so that way. She even had like on top of Theodore, her neighbor, that he was a suitor. She also had an additional
Mick.
suitor. Yeah, Mick, who was obsessed with her and kept badgering her to go to dinner with him and whatever, and then ended up proposing to her. And
My jaw dropped.
uh,
Like, what's the
w-
importance of this proposal?
and I understand it's completely different because they're old. They're in their 70s. So the things that maybe you think about before proposing to someone when you're in your 20s is a lot different than when you're 70s. But I was just flabbergasted because she didn't give him much that we at least read.
Yeah,
So for him to then propose to her was
I
crazy.
feel like some men like the hard to get type thing, like that really like revs their engines.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
It doesn't. I feel like I imagine Sybil as a very attractive 70-year-old. Don't you think?
yeah, she was pretty.
Yeah, the men were obsessed,
They were
and she was
obsessed.
also a very, very intelligent woman as
Yeah,
well.
she had like her very successful law career, working for the judge. Was the law clerk, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was like before her time. Like women weren't doing that either, so she really like put herself out there. And I think that was part of the complicated relationship she had with her kids. It was when Gilbert died, she really threw herself into her work, which I think caused like an even bigger rift than already existed. But
Yeah,
it brought her a lot of professional success.
and she probably did more than what maybe a standard law clerk would do.
Yeah,
Her and the judge really worked side by side rather than
yeah. There's a lot of collaboration, and it was
yeah.
like basically she would have went farther in her career had she not been a woman, but she was just limited by the times,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately.
That reminds me of the storyline about the situation with the
Mhm.
father. So at one point in the book, Sybil receives a letter from DM, I think it was,
Mhm.
and um, I can't recall what the first letter was. I think it might have been that I'm watching you kind of
Yeah, it's like
vibe.
an ominous.
Yeah, very ominous. Basically, I'm watching you. Watch out. Whatever. So concerning. Which I don't. Sybil doesn't do anything about it right away. And it makes me kind of think that she very quickly ended up knowing who it was, but um, because she was a part of a decision that was made that ruined the life of the father of the writer. Do you recall the scenario there, or?
I believe it was he was arrested, the father, for drug crimes, but like
Mm,
lower level drug crimes. Like he was like the mule type of person. And so then the man writing the letter, his name was Desi, I believe, and his mom brought him and his little brother in to plead for her husband's case and just like
mm-hmm,
ask them to show mercy. Like he's a father, he's got these
mm-hmm,
young kids. I think he was a baker, like a good person who just got caught up in something. And then they talked to Sybil, the mom did, and the little boys were there. And then Desi recalled like how cold and like ununderstanding Sybil was and gave like the boy Desi a dirty look. And the dad ended up getting a life, not a life sentence, a long sentence. And when he came back to Italy, he was just like a very different person.
mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of resentment. And we find out that that happened like right after Gilbert died. And that's why she was giving the little boy like what was perceived as a dirty look.
Mm-hmm.
So she made the wrong decision not campaigning for the dad, but she was like going through like the biggest heartbreak imaginable too.
That was really tough to read.
That
And I really hate any story when it comes to like judicial proceedings where wrong decisions made. Like
yeah,
it's horrible. Definitely are definitely things are not perfect there.
no.
And unfortunately, Desi, which I honestly was very surprised by how measured like Desi's response was to her when Sybil told the story and whatever.
Yeah.
And Desi was so understanding and actually provided a lot of closure, I feel like, for Sybil.
Yeah, I think
And
so
didn't
too.
have to do that at
No.
all.
I was very impressed with his character. I don't know if I would have been as big of a person. I am
Mm-hmm.
really good at holding a grudge. So I
Yeah.
could have probably continued holding that grudge, even in the face of like all that information Sybil provided. Not like my strong point, but I do
Yeah.
like my grudges.
So that was really hard to read. Not my favorite part of the book,
No.
probably. But
I think it was a necessary storyline, give her
mm-hmm.
more complexity, but definitely one of the harder ones to. It just doesn't sit right reading about it. It's sad from all angles. And early on, when she was scared about the threats, I'm like, she's like an old lady who's like sending an old lady threats.
Mm-hmm.
And then chopping the head off all of her flowers.
Oh my gosh.
That made me really
Diabolical.
sad. Like, obviously, not the worst thing he could have done. He could have like set the house on fire or something. But I think that kind of showed me, though, it was a gentle soul.
Yes.
Like, he's like, wants to hurt her without physically causing harm.
Yeah, because someone who's truly evil, like, they wouldn't even think about the beauty of a flower to, like,
Yeah. And from the beginning, we find out she is like slowly losing her vision, and that kind of comes to play with her running over the cat. And earlier, she like totals her car. She's very private about it. She's not letting anyone know. I feel like I would probably make it like a core part of my personality. Unfortunately, I'm always like very impressed when people keep things private. Where I'm like, okay, no, I want people. I don't know. I like the comfort of people. I like sympathy and people telling me it's going to be okay. I wouldn't want to do that alone.
Yeah. She was such a reclusive person,
She
though.
was.
I mean, her letters were really the only part of her that allowed, like, others in.
Yeah. I could not relate to her wanting to keep that so secretive.
It's kind of funny, though, because I do feel like you're like a, not secretive person, but you're a very private person, too.
Yeah, I've got like but there's nothing I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah,
Or
that's
like,
true. That's true. Like, she really, really was not letting
yeah,
up on this one, yeah.
there's like, I've got different compartments and like all of my compartments are open to you, to Garrett. Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't telling anyone. But I do think there's also the fear of her being put into a home if she opened up to like
Yes.
the wrong person. Which reading that was like so relatable because every time anything would happen to my grandma, she's like, "Now you guys are gonna put me in a home." Like I feel like that is like the biggest fear of so many old people.
Mm-hmm.
Which,
I don't blame them,
yeah, no, that's
honestly.
horrifying. I spent so much time at Friendship Manor, like in high school. Like everyone there was so sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
You know what I think about, too, is when it comes to, like, homes and stuff, is that like, unique to America? Because there's a lot of more generational living in
Yeah.
outside of America, and so they're taken care of by their families. So is that really more of a uniquely American experience?
I definitely think it's uniquely like Western, where we just don't have like the same obligations, I suppose. And I think it's like a big part of it is like the hyper independence like of America.
Mm-hmm.
Americans like go forth and find success and forget about everything else.
Yeah, because
Hard
it
to
really is
compare.
like a biggest fear of
Yeah.
people who are aging.
I think about like my parents, like my mom, I think would actually thrive in a home. She would really like that environment. My dad would probably rather just die than go into a home.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like it weighs on me thinking about like what's gonna happen. Like my parents, my in-laws, everyone's gonna get old. It's inevitable.
Yeah. But yeah, so I definitely think that you're right, that she was holding that back. One of the reasons is because she was terrified of being taken from the house she loves so much
Yeah.
and thrown in a home.
Did you have like in your mind's eye a vision of what her house was?
I did.
I was like super imagining her cozy little writing nook.
Yeah, I was too. And I think it was a beautiful home.
I know. I'm excited to see in the movie how if
I
it lives up to like
know.
what my brain came up with.
Hadn't noted this yet, but this has already been picked up to be adapted into a movie, and the star has already been selected. It's Jane Fonda, and I'm very excited
Yeah, me too.
about that. I feel like it will be really good.
Have any of the other characters been cast?
I think that's the only one that's
Okay.
been publicized. It's kind of crazy. This book, like the success it had as a debut, and like
Yeah.
because it was I mean, it has I don't even have all the notes of what all the accolades, but many already. And I did find it interesting. speaking of the author. So she's from the East Coast, which I was interested in because when people write about certain areas, I always am curious, are they from there or what's their
Yeah.
connection? So she is from the East Coast, and she studied under Claire Keegan, which is an author that I love. So I thought that was really interesting. And yeah, this was her debut novel. So I just, everyone's loving this book.
Yeah, I feel like it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Like everything about it is very unique from I think what's been in the trend cycles with books, like even down to the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Last week I was talking to you about how all the covers are looking the same with like the big title and like things wrapped
Mm-hmm.
around, like the storyline, the protagonist, the cover, the formatting is just people are always looking for something different that's well done, and I feel like that's what this is.
Yeah, and it just like came out of nowhere, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because I had heard about it one day and then picked it up, and that was that.
Yeah, when you told me about it, I hadn't thought I heard about it until I saw the cover, and it's like, oh, I've seen TikToks, but I guess I just mostly scrolled because it didn't register that that's what you were talking about.
Do you want to talk about the traveling of it all?
Oh yeah. So she does finally, when she gets her DNA results, gets connected with her sister and her half brothers. Is that correct?
I think so.
Yeah. So her sister and her half brothers who live in the Netherlands.
Yes.
They live abroad. And so a big pain point with her relationship with her daughter, Fiona, the entire book is that she doesn't travel. She's not going to go visit her in London. Like she's going to see Fiona once a year when she comes and visits her. And then once she gets connected to this sister, she decides to go and visit her, which I had mixed feelings on. It left a bad taste in my mouth overall. But I'm like, okay, so that's personal growth. That's her willing to like branch out and like do something bold and daring. But it did make me sad that she wasn't willing to have that personal growth and the bold and daring thing for her daughter, but she would for like this long lost sister she didn't even know existed until recently. So proud of her, but also putting myself in Fiona's shoes, I did not like it. And I spend a lot of time, for some reason, my algorithm on TikTok gives me like estranged child TikToks. So I'm very critical of like the mother who's estranged from her children. And I think I looked at Sybil a lot through that lens, which probably wasn't a fair lens to look at her through, but that was just what my algorithm's been feeding me the last few weeks. So
Interesting. I feel like, because as we've been talking, I feel like I resonate with everything you're saying about how you viewed her as a mom. But when I was reading the book, I really didn't. So I don't know what that says about the way that we both read the book.
yeah, just like through different lenses. And I think it was just like very relevant in my life. And I've got like a friend who's like going through things with her mom. So it's been like a topic of conversation every day too for like the last however long. And it's just, so I was definitely, I think, jaded going into it. Like as soon as I found out she has this complicated relationship with her daughter, I think I put her under a little more of a microscope than she probably deserved. But
yeah, I think it's natural.
it is kind of fun to see like how different people will perceive like different like books or characters or storylines just depending on what's happening in their life.
But it's funny because I feel like I resonate with all of that, but also I also am a very avoidant person, so sometimes I ignore things that
Yeah. You're good at romanticizing, and I think that's
exactly.
wonderful.
Yeah. I think it's less that I like love to romanticize, more like a coping mechanism. But
Yeah. Find the good in practice.
but yeah, I did feel very sorry for Fiona when Sybil decided to do that, but wouldn't for her. But also another part of the book that occurred that made it even worse was Sybil's ex-husband passed away, and he had moved back to where he was from, which I don't recall. It was somewhere over in Europe, and so he had returned back to his home, and that's where he passed away. And her her children obviously wanted her to travel for the funeral, and she had booked the flights and everything. And the day of, she did not go. I can't remember what happened that morning, but she didn't go. And that was also very sad because obviously that made her children very upset that she couldn't, in their eyes, couldn't muster up, what was needed to get over to support them. Really is really what it was more about, supporting them rather than, just being present at the funeral. And then that ended up resulting in her daughter, who had already kind of had a relationship with one of Sybil's friends, but her daughter really confided in one of Sybil's friends and went and visited her and was kind of leaning on her maybe as a mother figure in her time of need. And then that ended up getting back to Sybil, and that really hurt her feelings and probably a taste of her own medicine of it. But that was really a tough situation, and I can see it from both angles. But for her daughter, ultimately, it was really hard.
That was a very sad storyline. And I did feel bad for Sybil when she went to talk to Rosalie instead of her. And then Rosalie, weak isn't the right word, but tell Sybil about Fiona's infertility and stuff. And Sybil had no clue. And so that, I feel like it was a little bit of a gut punch. I did feel bad for Sybil, even if it was of her own doing in a way. But it was hard, that Fiona flew all the way back to the United States just to see Rosalie and didn't even stop to see her mom, which I just think was very telling of where the relationship was. I understood her anger, especially I think counting on your mom to show up and her saying she's going to, and then the very last minute she didn't. I think it would have been better if from the get-go she said, no, I can't do it. Which I get that's a hard thing to confront. And I think confronting, it was spelled different. I'm just gonna say Dan.
Dan.
I don't know. But confronting Dan's death, I think, was stirring up a lot of feelings about losing Gilbert. So there's a lot of complicated feelings, which there always is with death. So I felt for her. I felt more so for the kids, though.
Speaking of Gilbert again, it was my understanding, or what I picked up on probably halfway through the book, that the unsent letters were to Gilbert. At what point did you pick up on that, and what are your thoughts there?
Probably around the midpoint. That was very sad. She's kind of just using letter writing as a therapy, because obviously he can never read these letters. He died, and she just carried so much guilt. And I feel I can't imagine the pain of any of that. That's horrifying to think about, and it just makes me sad that all these years later, she's still carrying that burden.
So well done by the author.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of relationships that were covered using the epistolary writing concept was crazy. I mean, this isn't a huge book.
Yeah.
But the amount that happened and the amount of emotions gone through was crazy.
Yeah, she was able to create a very impactful story just through letters, and emails, I guess, which I was so skeptical of. Which I feel guilty about now. But it's I just didn't think it was going to be as enriching of an experience reading about it as it was, with no plot driven writing. It was all just through the perspective of the letter writers.
Yeah. And another thing in this book that I thought was interesting was how many books that she mentioned in there. And Morgan put together a list of all the books that she did mention throughout, and there are quite a few. 15? Around 15 books that were mentioned. And quickly looking through here, I've read 2 of them. The Year of Magical Thinking, which is one I had recommended to you, and then Never Let Me Go by, I think it's by Kazuo Ishiguro or something like that. Very good book, but kind of makes me interested into checking out the others, because I do feel like they kind of serve as a recommendation list.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to read all the books that Sybil has read.
Yeah. Have you read any?
No, I haven't.
No. So maybe we can look through and see if any of these pique our interest.
Definitely.
Because I do wonder. I would imagine that these are recommendations. So, because I enjoyed the book so much, I'm kind of curious.
Same.
Want to do fancast?
Fancast sounds good.
Perfect. For Sybil.
Well, I just changed mine. Christine Baranski.
Who's this?
She was Tanya in Mamma Mia. So she's who I originally had, and then I changed it to Meryl Streep for Donna in Mamma Mia, and then I brought it back to Christine.
Okay, love it.
Yeah, I love her.
I did my fancast late, and so I just went with the already chosen Jane Fonda.
Love her. I'm so excited to see her as Sybil.
I am too. I love that. Fiona,
I just changed to Lily Cowles, who's Christine's daughter, in real life, and she acts. So I love that.
Mother-daughter moment.
Yeah. So I'd love to see that.
Maybe they need to recast the movie. I did Carrie Mulligan.
I know the name, I don't know the face.
She's so cute. She has short hair. She was big last year in the award circuit. Her.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Super cute. Oh, that should be a good daughter for Jane Fonda.
Yeah, oh, that'll be perfect.
Yeah. Bruce?
I did Sam Claflin. He's been in things like Me Before You, Daisy Jones and the Six, Enola Holmes. I didn't actually really know much about him. I just liked his look.
Perfect. That's what for all the men, I never know anything about them. I'm just like, is this who they are? I did Simon Baker. Felix?
I typecast him and I did Eric Stone Street.
Okay.
Who was Cam in Modern Family. Who actually, he's a straight man, but he plays a gay man so well.
Perfect. I did Hugh Grant. And for Theodore, the neighbor.
Cutie neighbor, I did Steve Martin.
Oh, cute.
I feel like he would play like a very cute, sweet.
He would. I did Mark Harmon, which he's from NCIS.
Oh, cool.
And he's like an older man, and I thought he'd be cute, like neighbor, old guy that's obsessed with his neighbor.
Yeah, that would be adorable.
And then for Rosalie, bestie of
I
Sybil.
put Jamie Lee Curtis.
Cute. I did Jean Smart from Hacks.
Love it.
I recommend that show if you have not watched. It's very funny. It's a comedy. Yay!
I'd recommend this book to just about anyone.
Yeah, it's a great little read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. I'm excited. Do you know when the movie's coming out, or is it just like they've just breadcrumbed it so far?
Breadcrumbed for sure. Yeah, and I still feel like we're in the height of its popularity. I feel like people are like currently picking it up, and yeah. So it's very exciting. Congrats to Virginia. She did a wonderful job.
That's awesome.
Congratulations to her. I'm very excited to see more of her work.
Me too. Oh my gosh. I wonder if she'll follow the same format or mix it up in the next novel.
I also loved, she came out with an alternate cover for this book, which I have this one. Well, you know what? I'm not sure which one's the original. I think this one was, but she came out with an alternate cover that I think I love even more, and it's kind of like a modernized version. I don't know if you saw this one. Yeah.
That's so cute.
And so I really love this one. I kind of actually wish I would have purchased this one rather than that one, but regardless, wonderful book. Very excited for anything else Virginia puts out, and yeah,
How
recommend.
many stars did you give it?
It's a 5 for me.
5. I did 4.75.
Yeah.
So
this is a 5.
I can't give any book where the cat dies a 5.
Yeah. Okay, I understand that.
Yeah, I had to knock off a quarter, but it got very close.
Yeah. I wonder if that's something she took out to put back in. Because I feel like having a cat die is very, it's like having a dog die in a movie. You just don't do it.
Yeah, and then not having sympathy for it.
Yeah.
Like that made me so upset how Sybil was like sad for herself. Like, what about the life you just took?
I would be a wreck. I know. Yeah. That's funny. Yes. Okay. So, but we both scored it really high.
Great book.
And really, I really think anyone would be able to enjoy this. And I really would like to read another epistolary novel. I loved it. And I kind of am wondering what was the last popular epistolary novel? Has there been? Is this the first?
I don't know. I would feel skeptical to read another one because I feel like in comparison, like whoever does it's got to be so well done.
Yeah.
Because I was skeptical going into this one, and now she's set a very high bar.
Yeah. I just loved getting to know someone via the letters and emails and stuff that they send and receive. It's like, it's kind of gives like if you were like a private investigator, like hacking into someone's correspondence.
Yeah, there's like almost like a bit of like voyeurism to it.
Yeah.
Like something forbidden about reading like letters not addressed to you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Loved it. And I love that it was a work of fiction because I do feel like might feel a little bit different if it was someone's actual letters.
Yeah.
Invasive, maybe.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But we hope you enjoyed the episode. Our next book is
Half His Age?
Maybe.
Maybe?
If you finish.
I'll finish it. I'll be good to go.
Okay. Our next book will be Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy, which has been on our TBR for a bit now. We were anticipating its release, and it just recently came out. So excited to talk about that one.
Tough read. Not saying it's a bad book, but it's been a tough read for me so far.
Yeah.
I'm sledging through.
Yeah, we loved her debut memoir so much. I think on top of the subject matter of this book being hard to read, it also had that aspect of it where we just had such a good experience with the first one, or with her first book. So it'll be an interesting conversation, though, I think,
Yeah, I think so,
regardless.
too.
Maybe a shorter one than this one. But
Zip through.
yeah, we will hopefully see you next time. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much for listening to Facts and Fictions. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're new here, let us tell you a little bit about what we do. We publish new episodes every Sunday, and we've got 3 kinds of episodes to keep things interesting. First up, we have our book discussions, where we do a deep dive into one specific book. So if you really love digging into a read, those are for you. Then there are our brief encounters, where we tackle short form writing. Think magazine articles, Substack essays, things like that. Usually centered around a theme or topic we've been thinking about. Finally, we've got Overdue for a Chat. These are our most laid-back episodes. No reading required, we just hang out and talk about all things books. New releases, book-to-movie adaptation news, what's on our TBR, all of it. So whatever kind of reader you are, there's something here for you. Make sure you hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss a thing. We will see you next Sunday. Until then, happy reading.